Rising coronavirus infections in a majority of states nationwide. President Trump is claiming he will hold back federal funding if schools do not reopen in the traditional sense in the fall.
Yeah, the White House says students will be back inside their classrooms at the end of the summer. That's even when the CDC is advising against it. Now, joining us to talk about how this affects local schools is the Associate Director of Education of the Latino Network, Melissa McCoy. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Jenny and Emily.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So this was a pretty big threat that was made yesterday. What does this mean as far as cutting funding, and could it actually happen?
Yeah, so with the cases soaring across the United States, it's really difficult and hard to see the strategy behind reopening schools so soon. Our initial reaction is that decisions about children absolutely have to be made and driven by data, logic, and science. And for us at Latino Network, the safety and health of our students, of our staff, and of the administration at the school really should be at the forefront of any decisions that are made about schools reopening. We acknowledge that there are hardships that families are going through due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and working as a social service agency, we've looked to support many of those students and families through those hardships. But ultimately, the plans to reopen have to be made on sound safety measures that really provide that safety and assurance for parents and families.
So I know that's one thing that the CDC is working on right now, is trying to come up with those safety guidelines and best case scenarios. If this were to play out in the fall, if all students were supposed to go back to school, what would that look like? What would schools here in Oregon have to do to accommodate all their students safely?
Yeah, so our students, the students that we work with, have really had to adapt to a new way of learning for these last few months. And it's taken a toll on them, on their academic performance, on their social emotional learning components. And so within Latino Network, we really recognize that rushing into reopening schools only to have them reshut again, potentially because of the pandemic, really could be devastating to our students and families who are seeking and need the assurance of a school to have reliable safety and reliable instruction. So for Latino Network, what we did at the beginning of the pandemic was ensuring that our students have access to the technology that they need. So doing an assessment to see, do the students have the Chromebooks, the iPads, the reliable internet that's required for the online learning platforms? And we were able to provide resources to students and families that were not able to meet those minimal requirements. Additionally, we also really have to shift the student's sense of safety that was removed from them so quickly during this pandemic. So making sure that their basic needs are met for the families, that they have food, that they have water, that they have a way to keep a roof over their head. Those are the things that Latino Network has been putting in place, is making sure that those basic needs are being addressed before students are really able to pay full attention to any type of learning.
Right. Well, and as far as just the health aspects of opening the schools safely, is that something that you guys have been involved with as far as the steps to do that? I know the schools are going to be required to do a lot of social distancing measures, and a lot of things need to be put in place before they can open.
Yeah, Latino Network, our department specifically, the Education and Wellness Department, has been working with PPS to continue providing quality programming for a safe and socially distant environment. Internally, we're also focusing on creating a system that, if needed, could be sustained for as long as possible. So shifting program models that we have from face-to-face case management with students to Zoom sessions, providing after-school sessions, the enrichment courses to youth on a separate platform so that students are still able to participate in that, because we know and recognize that students, particularly those in which our department works with, middle school and high school students, developmentally, they need the socialization aspect. And so continuing to provide opportunities where students are able to engage is extremely important. We've continued our summer school programs via platforms online, Zoom primarily, so that students are able to access those critical peer development opportunities that they need to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, developing that socialization aspect with the physical health and safety with coronavirus, there's no easy answers here. So, Melissa, thank you. We appreciate your insight this morning, and I'm sure it's something we will be checking back in with you down the road.
Thank you so much.